Hello you guys. I decided to make a video just showcasing Maya's raiding abilities because a decent amount of people doubt them. She is obviously not the most powerful. She's not Salvador, but nobody's Salvador. And she can beat any raid boss in this game. If you put enough time to it, she can beat them all. You don't need glitches, you don't need anything. Honestly, I just wanted to showcase how much I goddamn love Maya. She's the best character in this entire game. But I'm gonna talk through each kill. I'm gonna be going from hardest to easiest raid bosses. I will be excluding Vermi because I don't consider him a raid boss. That and he would just it would take more time to get him to spawn than it would actually kill him, and I don't feel like doing that. But yeah, like I said, I'll be going from hardest to easiest, kind of giving you an overview of what I'm doing, if I'm doing anything crazy, but most of these are pretty straightforward. You'll get what I'm doing right away. But here we go. Alright, and for the first OP8 kill, I did the dragons. I think this one's by far the hardest. Or at least for me personally it was. Possibly if you're a person like Juzang, maybe you can do this real easily. But I don't think it's that easy. I think it takes quite a while. The big thing about this fight is you want Thought Lock. I got really lucky for some reason. These little minions that Brood spits out, for some reason they stayed on after like all my attempts. They stayed on here so that I didn't have to land Brood first and I could attempt to kill Helianth, which was really nice actually. But the big thing you're doing here is B-hawking, as you're going to be doing with most of Maya's raids. And the best way to do it is also with a lot of Maya's raids to get the best time possible. Although, granted, you don't want to get the best time possible, you just want to survive. But the best way to do it is B-hawk and switching to the Lady Fist. Makes things a whole lot easier. You take them down a whole lot faster. And obviously with all the other 3 dragons like shooting at you from the air, it gets really annoying, and you want to take them out as much as possible, or as fast as possible. That's why when one has to fly up into the air after I've already brought him down, it's a real pain in the ass. You want to kill them fast. And you can kill all of them just on the ground once. I don't think I did it to a single one on this run. I have no idea. Maybe I did, but I kind of doubt it. But for this one, what I would usually do is I would go for Brood first, wait for him to spawn 2 to 4 minions. That way I can use them to use Thought Lock the entire rest of the time. That way they're not attacking me while they're on the ground, and I have a chance to Sandhawk switch to the Lady Fist. But that's pretty much all that's going on this entire fight. As you can see, I accidentally pulled out a green Malawan from Marcus's mission or something, but it's a really straightforward fight. It's just kind of getting lucky, making sure you get that B to stay up, and getting those Lady Fist swaps really good. But yeah, like I said, I would start off with Brood, let him spawn 2 to 4. Hopefully you can kill him right away, because that one, it will be annoying. It's always really annoying if he's shooting down on you with his corrosive damage, because I always like to use an inflammable B, because Incinerator is incredibly annoying. But if you couple that with Brood, then it's really annoying. But after Brood, I would go for Helianth. Just because I want to stay with the same element, which would be fire, obviously. So I'm not going to do Incinerator. Boost will level people up, so or not boost. Is it boost? Yeah, it is boost. He levels people's up, and you definitely don't. That's one you wouldn't want to start with, because it's going to make every other dragon easier. But finally, I think here I kill Brood after a long time. Oh, do I? Obviously, the grog and chain lightning is something that I use heavily in this fight and in some fights, but specifically this one, just because the dragons are so easy to slag. No, I don't kill brood right here. That sucks. The dragons are so easy to slag, and they'll stay slagged for a very long time. Almost unlike any raid boss really I've seen, which makes them a hell of a lot easier. Oh, that sucks. Incinerator spawned. But yeah, it makes the dragons easier a little bit, but I mean, they're one of the hardest bosses, so I mean, they got to have something that makes them a little easier. But then again, there's also the pain in the ass of if you hit them with an element while they're flying, they will not be able to take elemental damage or be slagged, which that is what really sucks about this fight. It's not as big of a deal for Maya. Just make sure you're using a non-elemental gun when you're shooting them to get down. It's a huge deal for like Gauge on OP8, because most of the time you'll want a sham fleet, but at that point it's kind of RNG as if you are going to as if the sham fleet will not apply an elemental effect to one that's already in the air, which it usually does, and that's super annoying. But for Maya, that's not really big of a problem. Really, the only one I can think of a problem is either A, if you don't already know this, or B, if you use Engage. So you shouldn't run into that problem. But after this, I decided to take down Incinerator. I already had half his health down, and I don't want him to get any stronger with boost. He's probably one of the more hard ones, and you always have to change to a shock relic when you're trying to kill him, which is the annoying part, especially for speedruns. Like if you're doing this for a 0 speedrun, it's a pain in the ass, or Sniper 0, just because you can't go into the menu because critical ascension. But with this case, it's totally fine. It's not that big of a deal, especially if you're not doing it for time. But as you can see, I'm just whittling down Incinerator. These, I feel like I left a little too many of Brood's little minions. They're kind of being a giant pain in my ass right around here. But yes, I would say the dragons, I mean, you'd be surprised, but I would say that they are the most difficult raid boss for Maya. I mean, that being said, Maya has one of the fastest times for the dragons on OP8, specifically because mirror death, but the odds of actually being able to pull that one off are, I mean, you gotta try that so many times. I've tried it on OP0, and I probably put, oh god, I don't know, 100 tries into it and just said, screw that, like I can't, this is not fun. But overall, I would say, yeah, the dragons are by far the most difficult for Maya. Now, obviously, the mirror death, the way you would do that is actually, you know what, I'm not even going to explain it. I will put a link in this video to Dina Fay's kill of it and Light Chaosman's. One of them is using a fibber and the antagonist, and using Incinerator and his bullet reflect ability, like right here where you can't hurt him and his bullets or your bullets just reflect off of him. Using that to kill all the dragons, I mean, it's amazing. It definitely is. And Light Chaosman did it with I believe he did it with a conference call and pulled a mimic into the battle, which ingenious as hell. Probably one of the if not the coolest kills there are out there. I mean, like I said, I put it as my #1 OP8 raid world record, and I stand by that. I don't think there's a single other one that's as cool, difficult to pull off as that one. As you can see, I let Incinerator get back up in the air. you can kill him on the first try. It's definitely possible. And I think the person that's done this best is Juzang, which, I mean, he's done everything Maya the best. But I'll put a link in the description to his. His kill is, I believe, in 3 minutes and 13 seconds. I'm sure mine took like 12 minutes or something like that. Obviously, I wasn't doing it for time. I just wanted to get the kill done, which, with how many attempts I gave, I was glad that I finally got it done. Because this one is not an easy kill. Not at all. But yeah, each of these dragons, you can take them all out with just one landing of them on the ground. But yeah. So as you can see, the most annoying thing about this is just keeping the bee up. I could have killed Incinerator right there if my bee had not gone down. But I finally got him back down, and I think this is where I kill him. Actually, not where I kill him. You gotta wait for him to come out of his invincibility. Which this is the thing that I find most annoying about the dragons, and what severely limits any speed kill you've ever seen of them is Incinerator. Specifically that you have to wait for him do that initial step. Sure, it makes like a cool kill for Maya with the mirror death, but for everyone else, all it does is just extend the... It just extends the fight and makes it longer than I think it needs to be. Whereas every single other dragon, you can just attack them as soon as they get down. Like maybe if Incinerator, they made it after like a certain set of time that he'd do that, and it wouldn't, his invincibility stage wouldn't last as long. And I think that'd be way better. But I think the way they have it set up right now is just not a huge fan of it. Honestly, the dragons fight really isn't my favorite. I mean, it's not my... No, it honestly might be one of my least favorites. I mean, it's really fun with a Sniper Zero. And, yeah, Sniper Zero. I guess the OP0 gauge was kind of fun, but, I mean, that one wasn't really all that skillful. You just kind of anarchied your way and just got right next to their face when they landed and unloaded. And then had Discord, of course. But I don't know. I've never really liked the dragons all that much. With the exclusion of Sniper Zero. Melee Zero is a pain in the ass for them. I don't know what it is, but I swear sometimes it's like, even though I'm right behind them, it's not giving me the skill that makes it so you get like so much damage when you're hitting them from behind. I don't know why, but I'm not a huge fan of the dragons. But I would say it's definitely the hardest for Maya. You might disagree, you might think Vora, but you will see here in 1 second that I had Vora as my number 2 hardest. I just think it's a lot less RNG based a little bit and more skill based than the dragons. You can kill them a lot faster too, and it's not reliant on swapping or anything like that. It's just you and Vora. I mean, sure, his moveset's annoying and he's by far the most aggressive boss in the game, but he really isn't all that bad. He really isn't. I mean, obviously he's not easy either. It's gonna take you a few tries if you want to beat him. If you want to beat him legit. I mean, sure, you can just go onto the map and get an infinity and sit there all day, but that's no fun. So anyway, the way that I start this off, I just throw a chain lightning, slag him with my phase lock, and then do some damage with the Sandhawk. You probably could do a lot more to start off, but the big thing I'm concerned about when I start off is the Chief. I want to kill him as early as possible. So as soon as I'm done phase locking him and shooting him a little bit with the B-Hawk, I switch my B-Hawk to the Chief, switch to the Trespasser, and make sure he's dead. Because if you take more than one swap, you might as well just let yourself die, because then Vora's going to get aggressive. You're going to have the Chief trying to shock you, and you're either not going to kill him or you're going to get down, and then you're just going to waste time and ammo. It just isn't worth it. But then after that, I like to get all the minions. I like to get them all rounded up, phase lock them onto Vora, and then most of the time when I phase lock Vora and they're pulled in by that, they get slagged. And then I just pull out the Norfleet just to take them out. But after that, this fight is fairly easy. It can sometimes be screwed up by Vora's just incredibly aggressive moveset, and he's just kind of spontaneous and all over the damn place. So sometimes you'll lose track of him, and you won't be able to heal with your grog nozzle when he's doing his little bursts, and that will definitely kill you. That's probably the exclusion of just dying at the beginning because I didn't get the Chief down. That's the number 2 way you're gonna die, and it gets annoying, but really it's super worth it when you kill Vora, because I mean, he's just known as the hardest boss in the game to everyone, and to be honest with Maya, he's not that bad. Like, you can B-hawk him, you just need to know when your shield is going to become when it's going to be coming up. Obviously you want to make it so you face lock right before then, and then attempt to shoot and get a little bit of B-hawking in there on him, because that'll take him down. If you literally just try and either A, B-hawk him or just shoot him while he's slagged, it will either A, take a lot longer, or B, you could possibly run out of ammo. I've run out of ammo before and then tried to finish him off with the interfacer, and I mean, it worked, but it'll take a lot longer. Granted, you could kill Vora, and I've seen someone do this 4-player. Granted, I've seen Josang do this 4-player, I should say. You can kill him with only phase locks. I mean, he's really not that difficult to kill with Maya. Or I shouldn't say that. He is difficult to kill with Maya, but not as difficult as people think he is. But well, just like I said, look at Josang, and he's basically going to be all over this video in the description. But I think he's beaten Vora in 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Yeah, 2 minutes and 12 seconds. I think this one took me 7 minutes, maybe 6:30. I mean, I'm sure it's not even close to any kind of a record or top 5 or anything. Anyone can do this, though. I mean, I'm just some schmo. I'm not that amazing at this game, and if I can do this, I'm positive literally any of you can. You just need the proper gear and to get used to Vora's moveset, which is really the same thing for any raid boss. It really is. Once you get their moveset down, you can just coordinate what they do and try and counter it. And with Vora, he's one of the easier ones to read into that. So I'm looking at it now. Josang's kill is actually 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And then Himiwari has a 4 minute and 46 second B-hawk. And Borshot has a 5 minute and 12 seconds. So I mean, it's honestly a fairly fast kill. Like, you can kill him very fast, especially as opposed to the dragons. I think the dragons took me forever, and just it's so much harder to keep your B shield up as opposed to Vora. Vora, obviously, he's going to be knocking it down all the time, and you're like only going to have it up for just a quick second, but that second is just, it's enough to get in some B-hawking so that you can actually bring his health down and eventually kill him. But really, this one is just, this kill is just repeating the same thing over and over again. I always like to play it safe. I'll pull out my grog nozzle early, and cloud kill is a must for this one, by the way. Just because you only use the grog nozzle. The way the better players do it, aka Josang, Borshot, they do a Deepa grog switch, so they'll shoot the Deepa and then switch to the grog, and once the bullets hit him from the Deepa, you're getting a healing effect from the grog. I would always screw that up. I use an Xbox controller, and I switch using the D-pad. And I don't know why, but sometimes when you do that, it won't switch to the correct gun. And I swear it's always at the worst times for me too. So I just like to keep it on the same gun. I'll use chain lightnings and all that jazz. But yeah, if you feel like you can use a Deepa, I mean, that's the quick way to do it. Obviously at the end of this kill here too, you could attempt to do an immolate. You could switch to some grenades and attempt to immolate him with a Norfleet. I am not that ballsy. Juzang technically did it in his kill, but I'm pretty sure it was by accident. But in OP0, that's a much more viable thing to do. You can kill him in 20 seconds with Maya, with a Norfleet. On OP0, immolate. But in this, that's not viable at all. It is not viable at all. But yes, as you see here, I'm going to kill him with this last clip of Sandhawk. And that's Vora down. That's Vora down, and I'll show my gear and all that. This one you want to use an alkaline bee, obviously. And the next one, the third hardest one I had, was Terra, which people don't really see him as the hardest, or one of the harder ones. I don't feel like, but he really can be a pain in the ass with Maya, which it does kind of suck. But for part of this, you're kind of going to be sitting behind the rock. Granted, this kill was done a while ago. It's 1 minute and 55 seconds, I think. All I remember is it was under 2 minutes. This kill can be done a lot faster by using an immolate B-Hawk kind of thing. Same thing with Hyperius. I've seen Demonite do it. I've seen a couple people do it. That one I feel like will just take a little bit longer. The big thing in this fight is using crossfires, and then of course B-Hawking and switching to the Lady Fist and trying to get down on his crits. This one can be annoying depending on like which way he faces. So obviously he's facing straight ahead, but you want to kind of try and get the crits on both sides, because eventually those like bubbles pop, and those bubbles will pop, his crit bubbles or whatever they are. It's basically like Dexiduous, except he can take damage other than the crits. But you want to make sure you get them on both sides, because at the end point they'll be on one side, and you just want to make sure you get them both down. But I really don't like this fight as Maya. I never really found it that enjoyable. I would prefer trying to kill Vora. I just don't like how. I mean, obviously you could try and do this without sitting behind a rock. I think this is the easiest way to do it. I think this is how you see everyone do it. I wasn't a huge fan of Terra. I also I absolutely hate these rock tentacles. They are the worst, the absolute worst. But yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. You can kill them a lot faster than most of the other bosses, and if you attempt Demonites, what Demonite did, you can do it in 30 seconds. But that's Terra. And the gear build is, all these gear builds are basically the same exact thing. The exclusion of maybe changing grenades or like a couple skills, but they're basically all the same. And after fourth hardest, I put Guy. I'm still not sure if I think he's the fourth hardest exactly, but at least the way I'm doing it right here, he is the fourth hardest. If you wanted to take your time with Guy and just make sure you kill him, he's not all that bad. But the thing is, this is a speed kill here, and I'm going to show a speed kill because I didn't feel like killing Guy again, because it'll take 10 minutes, and you know, that's kind of not fun. But for Guy, the big thing you can do, and the thing that I always found easiest with Maya, is B-Hawk and get him a few of these little worm acid pools, and then once you've done that, I just switch to a Rough Rider and literally just run around in a circle around him. I mean, sure, you can hide in the back or whatever, or you could attempt to gate crush him, but I don't find that as fun. I know running around in a circle and just shooting him with a bunch of moxie weapons or like slow hands or whatever is kind of boring too, but I find that a little more enjoyable than attempting to gate crush him. That just feels a little too cheaty for me. But overall, Guy is a pretty poorly designed boss. He only has 2 moves. One of them's just throwing an axe, and like that right there, and that's pretty annoying. But the other one is, once he either hits you or gets close to hitting you, he'll pull out rockets and then stay where he is and shoot you with really slow rockets that you can easily avoid. And that's what I use here to get him closer to the acid pools, or like staying still. That way I can get him to absorb the acid pools, which is definitely a must. This really isn't the longest part of the fight, but once he finally gets his shield off, that he's not invulnerable to everything, then you're going to be attempting just to use a Lady Fist on him, and just whittling his shield down, and then finally his health down. That's the fastest way to do this. I think I have the second fastest behind Jusang for this one. I did not feel like doing Gi anymore, especially like this. It would have just taken forever. Maybe it would be faster to B-Hawk swap to the Lady Fist. I've seen no evidence of that. I think it'd take longer, honestly. But yeah, once it gets to this point, you can just start using the Lady Fist if you feel like bringing him down. If not, you can literally just, like I said, run around in a circle with the Rough Rider, and it's really that simple. Because if you're running around in a circle with a Rough Rider and you have, say, a Breakneck Banshee, he's never gonna hit you, and you're gonna be running around in a circle so fast that if you kill a worm, you won't even have to use a grenade for him to absorb it. Like, you really won't. He'll just absorb it on his own, which is really helpful. But if you wanted to do it the speed killing-ish way, this will definitely be the fastest, other than gate crushing. But it just disappoints me to see people gate crush Gi, because he could have been so much better. He really could have. I just wish, A, the acid pools didn't get so big. Didn't grow so fast. And B, maybe give him some more movesets. I want him to focus on Gi more than the worms, because it doesn't feel like in this fight you're ever fighting Gi. You always feel like you're fighting the worms, which is just poor design. It's just not good design. It's very, very bad. And it can really make this fight a pain. I mean, sure, they added in 2 raid bosses with this DLC, and honestly 2 of my kind of least favorite, but it just hurts me with how good he could have been. What I think they shouldn't have done is, I'm fine with the amount of health he has, I'm fine with him taking this long to kill, but he shouldn't have had that invulnerability stage where you can't do damage to him because he has an invincible shield or whatever. I think that's dumb. If they would have started it off where he just had the normal shield and you could do damage to him that way, I think this fight would have been way better. Even if they had just left everything the same, he only has 2 moves, and the worms are the most annoying thing. I would still find that way more enjoyable than I would what he is right now. Granted, invulnerability I don't think is a great thing to have in Borderlands, but I'm okay if they do it in a way with like Craw, possibly a little bit. I'm not like positive that's something I like a whole lot, but it's done a whole lot better with Craw than it is with Gi. Gi, it is just, It just, all it does is prolong the fight, which sure, that's what it does for Craw, but Craw's is just an easy enough boss that it's okay if they prolong the fight. Guy has just so much goddamn health that you don't want to prolong this fight, because it's already long as hell. Unless, of course, you're doing Salvador, which Salvador can kill Guy in like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, which still is not, it's not fast. It's probably one of the slowest speed kills records there is out there, with the exclusion of Dexi. But don't even get me started on Dexi, because I'll do that later. But yeah, this is Guy right here. Just you can B-Hawk and try and get him in his acid pools as fast as possible, and then Lady Fist his face, because he's got a giant head. Like, you cannot miss these crits. Or, I mean, I'm sure you can, but it certainly makes it a whole lot easier when you're using the Lady Fist, because he has just a giant head. It's just saying, here, come crit me. And you do. But yeah, I mean, this is the Guy fight. It's not all that entertaining. I think everyone knows that. Granted, people will call it like the hardest fight, or one of the harder fights in the game, and I think that's just completely wrong. I can understand. Actually, I can understand for some characters how it would be the hardest, or not hardest, but one of the harder ones. For Maya, it's probably way easier than all the other bosses. I mean, not all the other bosses, than all the other characters. But I mean, especially for Sal, it's fairly easy. It's just, if you run out of grenades, you're screwed, which is the biggest pain in the ass, which is something that helps both Maya and Zero for this. Zero, he can just use his deception to get Guy to get in the acid pool, and Maya, she can phase lock the sandworm to get him in the acid pool. But every other character, like Axton, sometimes has problems, Gage has problems, Krieg has problems with them. Somewhat. But this boss just, he disappoints me, because it is such lost potential. He could have been so great, or so much better at least, which I know I'm speaking about a game 5 years old, or 6 years old now. But they could have done it so much better. But obviously, I didn't say this in the beginning, you're going to be using Legendary Siren, because you're going to want as many phase locks as possible. You're going to want to be phase locking those worms as much as possible, pulling Guy closer to them. That way you can get them in the acid pools. But yeah, that's that fight. And the next one I had was Pete. And I think you guys probably know this, Pete really isn't all that hard. I mean, you might be somewhat surprised to see him up here, but the remaining raid bosses really aren't that difficult. I would say it's just the first 4 that people have problems with, or yeah, probably the first 4. Guy, the easiest way to do this with Maya is just to B-Hawk swap to the Trespasser to get a shield off. And then of course you can B-Hawk Lady Fist swap, but after I think like a couple attempts here, I just said screw it, I'm not even going to attempt to speed kill this. Like, Juzzing's already done this in 1 minute and 5 seconds. I can't beat that. So I just say, you know what, screw it, I'll use the Lady Fist for this first part. And the Lady Fist is faster for this first part. It also helps to have an Alkaline B to start off. That way you can avoid the first Nova. Or if he has a first Nova. And then you're going to want to use cover. And try and use the vents as little as possible, obviously. But the fastest way to do this for when he gets his shield down is just to B-Hawk. The Lady Fist doesn't do it as quickly, but it does the shield a decent amount faster than just B-Hawking. I have no idea why that is. Someone who's more into the mechanics of the game could probably explain that. But that's just the fastest way to do it. And obviously you're going to want to use Legendary Cat, gives you that SMG boost. But other than that, this fight is incredibly straightforward. I'm sure you've seen a ton of people do this fight. I mean, look at Manilow Moral Fiber. He's killed Pete 1,000 times. He's Killed him with stupid guns too. You know, like the, God, what is it? Is it the crit that slips out of your hand when you shoot it sometimes? I think that is. The one from the Tiny Tina DLC. I don't know who made that, but wow, that's a super annoying gun. So yeah, kill the rats, whatever. I just always have a grog handy against most of these raid bosses, just in case you get low health. Just as kind of a backup plan. Usually won't need it for Pete. I did there because I let the rats in. But this fight it's easy. It really is. I mean, people know it's one of the easier ones, and it's really just a matter of how much damage you can do, and make sure you know when his novas are coming. That way you can try and avoid them using the scaffolding and the other such stuff. The scaffolding and just like sitting behind stuff, which that's one thing I don't particularly like about some of the Borderlands raid bosses, is that they just have giant novas that take up the whole arena and just strip your shield instantly, or sometimes it even takes up the whole map, not just the arena, the whole damn map. Like for Hyperius, if you're sitting in another area of the map, like say you're right by the fast travel station, he can strip your shield if one of your friends is in there, which is it's crazy to me and kind of stupid, but whatever. There's Pete. You probably know how to kill him by now, but figured I'd showcase him. I mean, obviously, I'm showing all of them. And here's Dexi, and talk about the most disappointing boss in this game. He's basically he's a horrible Terra. And granted, I didn't like Terra to start, but Dexi's like 500 times worse. So the only way that Dexi can even be hurt is by shooting his crits. That is the only possible way. And you know, they sort of pop like Terras. So, and once they pop, they start to regrow. And basically you just have to wait for them to regrow before you can do anything. So I can't do any damage to him right now. Sure, it like shows his health bar receding, but you can't do any damage unless you hit those crits. I've seen people like Giantfly use the Pimpernel to be shooting him right now, and he thinks that takes down his health. I really am not sure of that. He says it does. I guess I'd take his word for it. He's a better player than I, but I've never seen that to be entirely true. And even if you do shoot him with the Pimpernel, it is if it is hurting him, which I'm not sure of. Like I said, it's doing incredibly minuscule damage. So and then for this fight, all you're going to be doing is sitting underneath this bridge. Mainly because it's just such a long fight, so you might as well get somewhere where he can't hit you all that well, as opposed to in the wide open where you'll run into other creatures as well. And wait for those crits to spawn and try and shoot them as fast as possible. And that's this fight. I mean, it's disappointing. I think it's cool how they decided to make a boss that spawns in an area you've already been in. You know, he doesn't have his own arena. This whole map is his arena. I find that pretty cool, but they screwed it up completely. He needs to be able to take damage other than those crits, and he can't. And that's just kind of a pain in the ass. As you can see, I'm phase locking him all the time. Maybe it's just because I think like Giantfly, and I think that my phase lock actually hurts him, but I'm really not sure if it does. Kind of like the Pimpernel, but I really don't know. I think it's just the crits. I guess phase locking him is just something to do to pass the damn time while you're waiting for those crits to spawn. But what you're going to want to use for this is, obviously a bee, obviously a lady fist, and I think I use a chain lightning and a grog in case I get hurt, but that usually doesn't happen too often. And then you're going to want to use a sheriff's badge as opposed to just the normal Bone of the Ancients. You're going to get, because all you're going to be using is a pistol this whole time. So you want that fast fire rate for this. That way you can pop his crit earlier. And reload speed, I think, is what it gives too. So that's definitely helpful. I could be wrong on exactly. Honestly, I might not even be using the Sheriff's Badge on this one, but I think I am. I think that's the fastest way to do it. The Bone of the Ancients doesn't do much against Dexi. But yeah, this fight's just a giant, long pain in the ass. Sometimes he gets like stuck up there, and you kind of got to move around to get him out there. The most annoying thing about this fight too is sometimes it'll spawn in other, I don't know what to call these things, daddy long legs, whatever the hell they are. Sometimes it'll spawn in others, and they can spawn in behind you, and that can really distract you and kind of screw you up. But those things are fairly easy to take out. Just be looking at your top right screen on the map to see if you see a red dot behind you, especially, because they can kill you. Granted, Dexi, I mean, you'll just spawn right back up in the you'll just spawn right back up in the hut up there, and you could start all over again. But with how long this boss is, and the little reward, you're probably just doing this to say you've done it. So you probably don't want to start over. I wouldn't. I definitely would not want to start over with this boss. But for the longest time, people always made it seem like Dexi was the hardest boss, and that is just not the case. Because I would almost have to struggle to find kills of him, and most time it'd be people sitting under here with an infinity taking all day, and at some point I heard like, oh my god, there's never been an OP8 kill for this, and you can easily kill him on OP8. I mean, it doesn't matter what level you are, you can kill this guy. It's just a matter of, do you really want to kill this guy? Once again, there's absolutely no reward, which is insane, absolutely insane, for how much iridium you have to spend to fight him and the amount of time you have to get him to spawn. You have to run across the entire, like, one of the largest maps in the game just to get him to spawn, spend like 100 iridium, and you'll get nothing for the kill. It's just, whew, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But yeah, you just gotta keep waiting for those crits. I'm gonna talk about something else because this is incredibly boring, and that is why I only have 8 raid bosses on here. I'm leaving Vermi off. There are certain things that I consider to be a raid boss, and I don't think it's just the suffix the Invincible. Obviously, every other raid boss has a health bar that appears at the top of your screen, a large health bar, and Vermi doesn't have that. He spawns just like Om Nom Knock. It's like a kind of a chance thing, a special kind of boss, as opposed to a raid for me. He can spawn twice, which isn't that... If you're an Invincible, you shouldn't be able to spawn more than once at the same time. You should not be able to have... You can't do that with any other raid boss. There's that, and there's that he can be de-aggroed. Every other raid boss has their own arena, the exclusion of Dexi. And granted, Dexi will sometimes attack other animals around here, but he is always somewhat attempting to attack you. Vermi, you can literally just walk out of the area and he'll forget you ever even existed and possibly disappear. So I don't really consider him a raid boss. Some people do. I think the only thing that's going for him is his loot, but I don't think he's a raid boss. Anyway, that's Dexi. He's a pain in the ass. He's not difficult. He just takes a while and just is not fun. Sorry, I was putting on a Rough Rider to go pick this stuff up. And here's probably one of my more favorite ones, and it is Son of Crawmerax. As you can see here, I'm B-hawking. This is technically the fastest way on paper to kill him with Maya, but I would say the safest way is just to phase lock him and use the conference call. It'll probably take 2 phase locks each time, and you should be able to take him down if you keep your B up the whole time with the conference call. But this fight is super easy, especially if you're not trying to speed kill. Granted, what I'm doing right here is I'm throwing crossfires at the ground, trying to get him slagged, and then using Thought Lock and then Wreck to help me out here. But this is definitely the fastest way on paper to do it. If you're able to actually get this, it's surprising. But the easiest way, by far, B conference call. You cannot go wrong with that. Super easy. Honestly, it's awesome, fun boss. I think it's the most fun just to kill. If you just want to kill something, you're just like, hey, let's go kill Crawmerax. Granted, you won't get super good rewards or anything, but it's a fun little environment. By far the coolest arena there is for any raid boss. And he's not that difficult. He's just enjoyable. He is just enjoyable. He's got plenty of moves, which makes him unique to some of the bosses. Like he only has like 2 moves, and honestly, Hyperius, he doesn't really have too many moves. But the way to go is a B conference call. Obviously, you're going to want a shock Bone of the Ancients. As he has dealt more with shock damage than he does with fire, because this part of his shell resists fire damage, so you're going to want to use shock. But yeah, that's basically all there is to this fight. This kill is 3rd in the world, thanks Giant Fly. He just made me drop from 2nd. It was at one point a world record, but it is not any longer, because Josang beat that, and Giant Fly beat this as well. But it's if you want to go the Thought Lock B-hawk way, it'll take some time, but it's really not too bad. It's pretty difficult to die from Crawmerax, but to kill him incredibly fast, it can be annoying sometimes. But yes, I will show my specs here. The big thing here for this one was Thought Lock, but like I said, you can really use just about anything. The only reason I was using Thought Lock is so I could get that wreck damage. But if you're B conference calling, you really don't have to put much effort into it. He's an easy boss. He's fun. And for the easiest one, I mean, you probably guessed it, and that's Hyperius. Granted, I don't make Hyperius look real easy. I'm rusty on him. I never kill him because I don't find him that enjoyable. Once you kill him so many times to get all the Norfleets you ever wanted, then he's kind of just, he's worn out his welcome, you know? So I don't really enjoy killing him much anymore. But the way I always do it is just, I just phase lock him, and then, like I said, I phase lock him and then B-hawk him a little bit, and then of course he'll put his shield up. You can of course B-hawk, switch to the Lady Fist. I didn't do it well there. I didn't feel like you're trying this too many times. I just don't like him. And then I group them up all together. Of course you could use a corrosive Norfleet if you want to take the robots down faster. I just use a Pimpernel because Pimpernel's fun to use. But you're going to want to use a Fire Bone of the Ancients. I have no idea if the Fist does anything faster, but I doubt it. So yeah, basically you just keep doing this. As soon as the robots spawn back up, get them all heaped together, pull out the Pimpernel, start shooting, try not to kill yourself, like I almost did right there. He's Hyperius. We all know he's super easy. The fastest way to kill him, you can kill him with a MO B-hawk, or just like any kind of immolation, and you can kill him in like 5 seconds. Granted, that'll take like a decent amount more time than to actually kill him. I think you should just actually kill him. You can do that over and over and over and over again. I mean, you could probably kill Hyperius 50 times in a row if you wanted to. He's not that hard. But if you really wanted to go for it, you could do Immolation. It's the fastest way on paper, just like the fastest way on paper for Crawmerax is B-hawking. But I think it's just easier just to play out his little set raid boss little stage kind of thing. It ain't too bad. Obviously, he's super easy. I feel like it can be enjoyable at times, but you know, like I said, after you farm for the Norfleet so much, it's like, nah, it's Hyperius, whatever. But really, the only thing you're going to be doing here is B-hawking. You don't even have to B-hawk. I've killed him with plenty of other guns. I usually use an SMG and just a legendary cat. You don't even really need a B. I've killed him with the antagonist before, or not the antagonist, the evolution. He's really not hard. You know this by now. But I take my sweet ass time here because why not? This is the first time I'd killed Hyperius in a year. I don't know. It's been quite a while, and I'm happy of that fact. But yep. Once you take down his bots, he'll start jumping at you, which really isn't all that hard to avoid. Occasionally using a grog to heal yourself, but like I said, that ain't hard either. The most annoying thing is a Nova's, which is like a worse version of Vora's Novas that you can easily stay alive from. Whereas I'm pretty sure he does 2, just like Vora, but I mean, he jumps at you and takes forever like that, whereas Vora's freaking charging you, and sometimes you don't even know where he's going. But yep, and then once you get to this point, just start B-hawking. It gets fairly easy. I don't know why I was playing it so safe here, but I was. But as you know, Hyperius is the easiest. I hope you enjoyed this video though. I just wanted to showcase that Maya can pretty easily beat every single raid boss in this game. Or not pretty easily, but she can. Most people think that she's the worst raider. Maybe that's true, but it can be done. And that was all 8. Thanks for watching.